back with a vengeance. So
yeah, they came back. So that arc was it was a time travel arc in X-Men Blue, and I wanted to show ramifications for the X-Men being out of place, and it's interesting because when I took over X-Men Blue, Dennis Hopeless had just written a story where the original 5 X-Men go back in time and see that they're there.
Yeah. And
they see themselves. And a lot of people said, well, that means the X-Men are alternate universe versions.
Right.
And when I took over X-Men Blue, I told the editorial team, I said, if I'm going to do it, these are the X-Men. They are not alternate versions. They are the X-Men from our universe. And they said, well, we've already done this. So the idea is the Brotherhood, the future Brotherhood, has gone back in time. And since the original 5 were missing, they just inserted themselves into that reality and took over for them.
Right. Because I was thinking that when Hank McCoy brought the original 5 to the future, he said, no, this will have no ramifications, as if he knew that this wouldn't.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, well, there's the thing. There's the rub of time travel.
Right.
In order for the original 5 X-Men, in order for time not to crumble, it means the original 5 X-Men have to go back. They have to come back, and they have to go back and not remember why they're there. And that was something that I thought is kind of interesting. It's kind of heartbreaking for those characters. In particular, Bobby, I think is it's kind of a cruel fate for Iceman to have to know I got to go back, and I can't remember I won't remember any of this.
Right. Now, taking over the Tick, how fun was that to take over the Tick? Because the original comics were so much fun, and now you brought it back with Jimmy.
Yeah.
How fun was that taking on this great character?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I love the Tick, especially the era when the live action show,
the Warburton era,
and the cartoon was airing.
Right.
I have fond memories of that. I remember. The Tick, the network that the Tick was on was owned by a very religious, where I lived at the time, a church owned that network, and they still aired the cartoons, but in between the cartoons they'd run bumpers where one of the preacher or whatever would come out and talk about what's going on and deliver messages of hope, and I remember so vividly the Tick was on, and he comes out and he says, the Tick just wants to help people. Just wants to help people, and he's just helping people. That's a lot like Jesus. And he just says, the Tick's just a big blue Jesus. And I've never... So when New England Comics called me and they're like, hey, would you like to do a Tick? I was like, big blue Jesus. But I really wanted it to feel like classic Tick. And that's
it
one of the...
It really looks that way.
Yeah,
like covers and everything.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I wanted Jimmy Z. Johnston to write it with me, because there is no bigger Tick fan than Jimmy Z. Johnston.
Oh, yeah.
Showing us his steel cage Tick.
Right, and I knew that if I was going to write a Tick book, I had to bring Jimmy. I've known Jimmy for many years now. He's co-written a number of things with me, and I knew that if I was going to do a Tick book, I needed him there for that. He's the Tick expert anyway.
Yeah.
So I wanted him to write it with me. So that's been a lot of fun on a lot of fronts.
And you and Tyler Crook here have been doing Harrow County. What can you tell us about Harrow County for those who may not know about it?
Well, if you don't know about Harrow County, it is a Southern Gothic fairy tale. It's a story of a young woman who's grown up out in rural North Carolina, and she's always known that ghosts and goblins and witches have always been out in the woods around her house. But what she didn't know is that she may very well be the reincarnation of this heinous witch that used to roam the area. So this story is where her discovery of who she is. Is she this witch? If she is, can she buck fate and be her own person? And it's a book I'm very proud of. I'm typically a pretty humble person, but I'm not humble when it comes to Harrow County. The book's amazing. I mean, I know that the book's awesome. It's a lot of people think of it as a horror story, but it's also a book that I think people who don't like horror can really get into it. Tyler described it yesterday as sweet horror, and I was like, all right, that fits the book perfectly. It's a sweet horror story, and we're actually getting ready to wrap the series up. Issue 32, which comes out in a couple of months, will be the final issue of the series. It's all in trade now, but you can start if you haven't read it, you can start reading it in trade and follow the story and know that in in 32 chapters, you will have read the entire story and see where everything goes.
Any plans for like a hardbound for that coming out?
Yeah, they announced it yesterday. I think in October of this year, they're going to be releasing library editions, which are going to be oversized. They're going to have 8 issues worth in each hardcover, and they're also going to have a ton of extra material in them as well. They just announced those yesterday.
Fantastic. So what's next for you? Any new books on the horizon now that Harrow County's going to be coming to this conclusion?
Oh,
Anything
yeah,
new coming out.
Yeah, I've got a ton of books that haven't been announced yet.
Okay.
Tyler Crook and I are working on developing some new stuff to follow up Harrow County with. We just Boom just announced a book called Bone Parish that is going to be coming out. I think in June is the first issue comes out, which is another horror story. It's again, I do a lot of horror stories, but I try to do different styles of horror stories. This one's very much a grounded crime story, but it also it follows. It's set in New Orleans, and it follows a family who's sort of this aspiring drug cartel. But their drugs are made from the remains of the dead, and that has some supernatural ramifications. So we just announced that, and I'm working on, and like I said, a ton of unannounced projects that are on the way.
Surprises.
That's right, surprises.
Well, Cullen, we thank you for your time this
Hey,
morning.
One more personal question. A mutual friend of ours, I just noticed you bought some comics from Aaron Myers on Twitter. I've been friends with Aaron for 5 or 6 years, and how are you enjoying Aaron's comics?
Man,
Did he rip you off? Did he give you a good price?
No, he didn't. No, Aaron, I will never say anything like that about Aaron.
Oh, he's a good guy.
Aaron,
no, just playing Aaron if you hear this.
Aaron impresses me because I watch his Twitter feed and just see the comics he's bought in collections.
Yeah, amazing.
And I want to do that. I want to be able to do what he does and go get these collections. And he messages me every now and again and says, it's easy to get into buying collections. I can tell you how. And I'm like, man, I don't know if I want to go down. I do want to go down that rabbit hole, but I also know it would be such an investment of time and money.
If you watch his Twitter, it looks like a lot of work.
It does.
He hauls those long boxes in and has a station set up.
But I'm super impressed with the collections he buys. I can only imagine what his own collection looks like, and we have a little bit of a feud because I like to have my old comics bound. So I get him bound, and he does not agree with that philosophy at all. So occasionally I'll post a picture of a bound comic, and he'll send me a message saying how crazy I am to have bound these books. But it's a friendly feud.
Banter. Yeah.
Excellent.
Well, we thank you for your time as always. Every time we've had you on, you've been great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Can I just say how awesome Cullen is, though? How cool he is with the interview and how humble the guy is.
Yeah, it's kind of, well, Jimmy too. Both of them. Those guys are both like really just down to earth. Like they seem like guys that you would bump into at your comic store and start talking comics with, and then find out it's Cullen Bunn.
Yeah.
It's like he's just that. He's that. He's not like like you get. In a good way, he's not like a presence like a Stan Lee would be, or like Neil Adams or so. Like that guy would like kind of shake you up a little bit.
Yeah,
but
and Neil Adams was there. Neil Adams was at the con, but
yeah, I never saw him sitting there signing. We were all over the place, and every time we walked by there, I never saw him. It must have been like very specific, short periods of time he was doing stuff. But with Cullen is very, very cool. It's a weird, awkward silence there.
I was checking something.
Okay, Cullen was a really nice guy. He said he's going to come back on proper again later too and discuss what he's got some projects there. He said at the end that he can't talk about quite yet, but he'll come on and talk later about it.
And just so everybody knows, other than Pat Gleason, because that was, like I said, we were in that VIP area, anybody that we walked up to, we talked to, like Cullen Bunn, Jimmy Z, people at Image, like Teenie Howard, Tim Seeley, one or both of us, we bought books from these people. For the most part, we did.
Oh, yeah. And Jerry Duggan, I gave to his charity, too, just because he didn't have time at the time when we were going to interview him, but he tried to work with us, and so
Yeah, but
I mean, you should do something. I mean, you shouldn't just like, hey, give me what I want.
yeah, and then leave. So definitely, if there's any tip, because it was weird, because some people did ask us while we were there, about how do you podcast, or I'm just starting podcasting. What do you guys do?
The first step before we even get to that is, first of all, Spin was in touch with Image and all these people way beforehand, and asking about this, and we got in touch with the Image booth and made sure it was cool to go walk up to Cullen and ask in the first place.
Oh yeah,
you got to do that. Clear all that shit before you go walking up to anybody.
But like I said, if you're going to talk to these people, also, grease the palm a little bit. Buy one of their books. That way, because they got to eat. This is how they make the money. And, in an artist...
Don't waste their time,
Yeah, definitely. I bought a lot of books. Shoot, I pretty much... Most of the booths we went to, I bought, as far as, like, the comic books, I bought something.
Well, for everybody we interviewed, they were like interesting. The reason we interviewed them is because we wanted to and we liked their stuff, so it made sense to buy something. Well, we were right there to buy it from them is even a cool thing to do. I mean,
yeah,
because I got the first 3 issues of the Tick signed by Jimmy Z and Cullen right there at the table while we were talking about getting the interview.
I'll tell you this,
so, cool shit.
Very cool. Big Dog Inc. I bought the first trade and a variant cover for their book Critter. And I read that trade while I was at the airport going home. Absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. Because I can see his influences in the book. There's a character in the book that's basically like Quicksilver. There's another character that's, they got their strongman, their Superman type character. They've got their dark characters. They got one character that's really interesting. He's comes from the future, and he knows everything that happens in the timeline. He knows when when a hero will appear, when a villain will appear, because he's studied the timeline. So he's in this timeline, but he doesn't get involved. Because he doesn't want to change the timeline. And then when something does alter that alters from what he knows, he goes flipping. He goes like crazy. Like the timeline is going to get fucked up. So I really enjoyed that, and I read the first issue of that Battle Cats book I picked up. I gotta figure out. I gotta remember who the publisher is. But they gave me a copy of the first.
Yeah, I've got that. I think I've got that card. That's why you don't have it, because I found it after you already got on the plane, and I've got a business card from the guy. So I think it's that.
Yeah, just snapshot it to me. But I read the first issue of that book. Man, I actually dig it. Like they built like a whole world. And I think I like it because it kind of has like a Warcraft kind of feel to it. It's like Warcraft meets Thundercats.
Yeah.
So that is like right up my alley. And they built this whole world, like the different tribes of cats and the powers.
That's what I kind of wanted Thundercats to be when it was first on. I remember the premiere when I saw it like on primetime when it premiered.
Oh yeah. Do you remember that when cartoons used to premiere in primetime? That was a great time.
We talked about it on the show before.
That was a great time.
Oh yeah, well, especially Thundercats, they had a big ad campaign for that leading up to it. I remember like being real excited for it when it was going to be on, and that's kind of what I hoped it would be. It was like a more developed world like that. But it's a kid show too. Yeah. What do you expect? Well, Thunder the Barbarian was pretty hardcore for its day.
And I will say this: I'm probably going to take a little bit of time out of the review show to talk about Sonic from IDW.
I was going to ask you if they were used any old characters, if they had any of the other characters you were looking for in there.
So far, it's just been a few characters, like the characters that are actually in the games. But they're introducing new characters there, and I'm hoping I see some of my characters from like Saturday Morning Sonic and things like that. I'm digging it so far. I'll go more into it in the review show, but I'm digging it. IDW, I'm digging it.
I finished the book,